Good morning, children. Sairam. I hope you all are good. I'm also fine. I just want to welcome you to 12th standard and I want to wish you very good luck for the new session. And I'm 100% sure that you are going to do extremely well in your board class and you will accomplish the desired goals. So I wish you all the happiness in the world and a very good luck. So, children, in 12th standard, you're going to have two books. One out of that is Flamingo, and the other one is Vistas. So, for the month of April, we are going to study Flamingo, and after that, we'll switch on to Vistas in the month of May. Before starting the chapter, I just want to discuss a few things with you as we normally do in the class. The same I want to continue here also. I want you to question yourself that why do we need language? What do you mean by mother tongue? Just think about it. Mother tongue is the language that we acquire at home, that we learn from our parents or family or society. That is most probably the first language that we speak. Then, what do you mean by second language? Second language means the language that we learn later on. So, for example, our mother tongue will be Hindi because we are learning that, not even learning, I would say we are just into that language from our childhood. And the second language is English that we learn later on so that we can deal with the society, we can deal with so many other people around the world. The third thing is that why do we need language? Why language is important? So there is a need for a language to communicate with each other, to share our ideas with each other. Exchange of thoughts and ideas is very, very important. So that is why language is a medium of communication. As far as English is considered, so English language is a strange paradise. It's where fish flies and the sparrow swims. So, the chapter which we are going to study today is the last lesson by Alphonse Daudet. It's a great fun that your first chapter itself is the last lesson. So, why it is the last lesson? It has a great essence behind it that we are going to find out further when we are going to read the chapter. Before proceeding towards the chapter, I just want to introduce the main characters to you. In the chapter, we have these characters. Number one is Franz. Franz is a young school going boy. Then M. Hamel. M stands for Mr. Hamel. It is also known as Monsieur Hamel in French language, but here we will just keep it very simple. So we will concentrate on Mr. Hamel, who is a school teacher. The third one is Oldhauser, one of the elder villager. Then Watcher, who is a blacksmith. Watcher word is used for watchman. So Watcher basically we speak in German language or the Dutch, but otherwise in English we say watchman. So there was a Watcher who is a watchman, a blacksmith, and the Persian soldiers. These are the characters of the story. So, Alphonse Daudet, he was born in France and he was a great French novelist. He was a short story writer and formerly he was a school teacher, but he left teaching further to be a journalist. He wanted to be a journalist and he started his work there in Paris. So, this was about the author. Main characters I have told you: Franz, M. Hamel, Oldhauser, Watcher, and Persian soldiers. So let's begin with the summary of the chapter. So, this summary tells us about the boy Franz, who is also the narrator of the story. So what happens one day, normally as he used to go to school, one day he reaches the school and he saw that it was a great crowd, so many people were there, some from the village, his teacher and other students were there. And the moment he reached the school, he came to know and he was extremely shocked to know that today is going to be the last lesson of French language. Why it was there? Because their area, the France, has been captured by, it was overpowered by the German. So that is why it happened like that. So they used to live in a place which was House Lorraine in France, and that was overpowered by Berlin. So that is why when the students and the other people they came to know that this is going to be the last lesson, they started having a kind of respect towards their language. Initially, when their teacher used to teach them in the school, M. Hamel used to teach French in the school, nobody was interested in that. Nobody took any kind of initiative, never. But when they came to know that it is going to be their last lesson, suddenly they started having a kind of interest to know the language because they were not knowing that language so far. It happens with us also. When the things are there with us, when we are surrounded by the people or the things, we are very okay. And we never respect things or people when we are with them. But the moment the people whom we love are not with us or the things we need are not with us, then we regret that why we didn't respect that earlier. So I think it's better to just respect whatever you are having at that moment rather to regret later on. So this is the thing. What happened? They all were regretting for not knowing their language, and as a mark of respect, the village people also gathered there because they wanted to learn that language for the last time, which they could not learn in their childhood. And that is why they all assembled and they attended the last lesson by the French teacher M. Hamel. So finally, when the teacher was teaching them, he blamed all of them for not being so responsible to learn their mother tongue. And on the other hand, he blamed himself also because he thought that maybe somewhere he lagged. He was not that much sincere towards teaching them. So these things were there in the mind of the teacher. At the same time, the teacher was very sad, he was full of grief, and he was full of patriotism also. And that's why he told the villagers and friends a very important thing, that being knowing your language, to be in the contact of your language is something that can always help you to escape from the slavery. So you should always know your language. Why the people can rule you, how the people can rule you, and why they rule you. It's only when you lack somewhere. You don't know your language, you don't know the things, so many issues are there. So here he was saying that you are overpowered by the Germans only because you lacked in speaking your mother tongue. So finally, the villagers and the people over there, they realized their fault and they were completely in the favor of M. Hamel, that yes, they were at fault for not learning their language, and it is just because of their illiteracy that they are suffering today. So this was the summary of the chapter. And now before proceeding towards the reading, just see the hard words over here. The first one is dread. So here I've used it in a sentence to make it more clear to you. Suhana's greatest dread was that she would lose her job. Second is resist. The medicine will help your body resist infection. The third one, bulletin board. The students put a poster on the bulletin board. So these are some of the hard words which I have discussed with you. You can look forward for the others also. There are so many in the chapter. Here, let's begin with the reading of chapter number 1, the last lesson. About the author, Alphonse Daudet, 1840 to 1897, was a French novelist and a short story writer. The last lesson is set in the days of the Franco-Prussian War 1870 to 1871, in which France was defeated by Prussia led by Bismarck. Prussia then consisted of what now are the nation of Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. In this story, the French districts of Haute-Lorraine have passed into Prussian hands. Read the story to find out what effect this had on the life of school. Now, here are some of the words and phrases that you need to know before proceeding towards the chapter. In great dread of, it means having a kind of fear, in the fear of something. Then it is counted on. Counted on means when you are depended on someone, when you are depending on someone, that is counted on. Thumbest at the edges, which has soiled edges, soiled. Then in unison. In unison means something being done or something happening, that is in unison. Then a great bustle, some very excited activity or a rapid activity. Then the last one is reproach ourselves with. It's to express a kind of disapproval or criticism or a kind of disappointment. Now let's see the reading. I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles, and I did not know the first word about them. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill, the Persian soldiers were drilling. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles, but I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer, and I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? So, for today, we are going to have this much. You can continue with the reading portion yourself, and in the next session, when we are going to meet, I'll continue with the other part of that. And today, as your homework, I'm giving you these 2 questions which you can do in your rough notebooks. Try to answer them. Then when we are going to meet, I'm going to discuss these answers with you. The first question is, why did friends do not want to go to school that day? Question number 2, what according to friends was more tempting than the rule for participles? So the answer to these 2 questions you can write in your rough notebooks, and we are going to discuss the same in the next session. So for by the time, thank you so much. Sai Ram children.